So I think it's easy to say, but it's true. All of our lives have changed forever. I've been praying for several weeks, even before all this happened. I'm like, Lord, there's just a new message that you want to give and that you want to connect with everyone. And we know with COVID has come and just impacted things in ways that we never expected. No one expected 2020 to be 2020. I can't tell you how many memes I'm seeing of people saying 2020 just sucks. All right, let's just be blunt about it. All right, people are like, wow, what a year. There's not a pastor. You're not supposed to say those kind of words in church. Well, it's what it is. I got better words, but they're really not appropriate for church. I think the biggest thing with COVID has been the relational impact. How many people are distant? We have many people that are here this morning as we've got our chairs distanced and people and it's love that we can wear masks and honor each other and encourage things, but we have many people that are online and at home. I know we still have about 400 to 500 people that have not made it back to us publicly and with good reason. I'll talk about that here in a second. That's changed us relationally. We've had relational impact on things. It's been difficult because we're not meant to go through things alone. We've seen the racial unrest hit our country in ways that we haven't for decades. To see the impact that's been taking place in city after city, it's been fascinating for me. I have ties with many friends in Kenosha, and I've lived in Minneapolis and worked right in the neighborhood where those things happened, and seeing just the unrest and the conflict and the anger that's happened, and then that we have violence that's erupting in our nation that none of us can put a finger on and no one condones whatsoever. That's just an absolute wrong, that we're not honoring lives in any way, shape, or form. And then we have natural disasters like our good old derecho, which is now a 4-letter word for me. Derecho. And even Hurricane Laura and the other things that have just taken precedence. And all of these things have changed. And for many of us, if you're like me, it can be overwhelming instantly. If I could show you my phone, the number of phone calls and text messages and emails on a daily basis that I'm going through right now, it's astronomical. I never thought there would be that many. And we're trying to make decisions. We're trying to communicate and trying to help each other. And sometimes we just get into this moment where we're trying to just survive day by day. It's just like, can I get through today? What does today have us? And the problem with only living day by day is a lot of times we shift into what we call survival mode. And so many people live in survival mode. A lot of people in America live in survival mode. A lot of people around the world live in survival mode. And what survival mode is simply this, is that everything is urgent. Everything is urgent when you're in survival mode. What that means is you don't plan ahead, you're reactive. You're just reactive. What needs to happen? Because these things are happening today, right now, in this moment. I don't make plans because when I think of the future, I'm thinking about tomorrow. That's about as far out as I can think. I can think to tomorrow because everything's happening right now, in this moment. That's where just I live. That's how I make it through each day. And in survival mode, we have no margin. Have you ever noticed how busy your schedule has been, like from beginning to end, and there's just not any margin. Everything is full. And then the other thing that happens in survival mode is that no one can really help. It's amazing how many people have said, hey, how can we help, from around the country, saying, how can we help? And I'm like, I don't know, pray. I believe that firmly. You can give, you can do that. Some people have come, but for the most part, it's kind of like, I think of survival mode. I've known many, many single moms that live in survival mode. I know many people in different economic statuses that just live in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, it's kind of like when you're carrying groceries in from the store, right? Especially if you go to Sam's Club and you don't have bags for everything. And you're like, I don't need the cart to get out. I don't have that many things. And so you like shove this box here and that box here and this box here, and you got everything done. If somebody says, can I help you? And you're like, no, I got it. Because if I let go of one thing, it all falls. Right? If I let go of one little thing, everything falls. It's just stacked on top of each other for me to make it through. And so it's really for me to say, people say, are you good? Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. And truthfully, you're not fine at all. Right? You got more than you can carry. You got more than you have the capacity to work on. And no one can really help. And then our goal really is just to avoid a bad day. When you're in survival mode, your goal is just to avoid a bad day. I just want to get through today and not have a bad day. And here's the problem when that's our goal, is there's no room for joy. There's no room for joy. Because for joy, there has to be spontaneity. And when your day is filled from beginning to end, I think of so many moms, so many people that we get caught up in work and all these other kind of things. We're scheduled from morning to night. I remember, especially when we lived in the cities, I have to get the kids to this event and that event, and we got to drive from here and to go to there and to be at this place and be at that point. And then we got that practice, and then I got to be here and I got to do this work at this time, and I got to get up at, so 5:30 in the morning, I'm up so the kids can get to the bus by 6:30 in the morning, and by the time they get home at night and I'm finished grading my papers at 10 o'clock at night, I got to wake up again the next morning at 5 o'clock to read some of the things that I was about to teach the next morning and go through that same pattern all over again. Where's the space for joy? Where's the space for enjoyment in those things? And the problem can happen when all of these things are happening in the world around us, that we just are in survival mode. But here's the thing. Jesus did not come to save us for us to simply survive. Jesus came so that we can thrive. It's the fullness of what life is to be about, right? He created us for thriving mode. And so for what I want to do over the next couple of weeks is how do we thrive in a day-by-day world? How do we understand a new normal that's not the world that we lived in 6 months ago? Well, that world's different. It's changed. We're not going back to it. And for many of us, that's going to be a good thing because it's going to force us out of some bad patterns, some bad habits, some things. But we need to make sure we don't just shift into a different survival mode, but we shift into a thriving mode that Jesus has prepared for us and that he has for us. And so what I want to talk to you just for a few moments today is I really believe that for us to have a thriving mode when we're living day by day is we need to be like Jesus and we need to learn to lead with love. We need to lead with love. That in everything that we do, we lead with love. If you have your Bibles, in Matthew 22 is an incredible set of circumstances that are taking place. And in Matthew 22, Jesus is confronted time and time again by many of the different leaders. It says in verse 15, it says, and the Pharisees met together to plot how to trap Jesus into saying something for which he could be arrested. And so they came together and they start talking to him about politics. How many know people like to talk about politics and trap people with politics? It's been around for a long time. Telling my 24-year-old son, politics is politics. It's been around for centuries. It's not anything new. But that's what they were trying to do. They're trying to trap him into political conversations. A little bit later, it says, but when the Pharisees heard that then right down verse 21, it says, then that same day, Jesus was approached by some Sadducees, religious leaders who say there's no resurrection from the dead. And they posed this question. And teacher, Moses said that if a man dies without children, they go on and they try to trap him into something else. They're trying to have a theological debate with him. Is God who he really says he is? If God is God, is he big enough to create if he's all powerful, can he create a rock that he can't lift? Those kind of questions. That's what they're trying to trap him into. And then a little bit later, it says, when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees with his reply, they met together to question him again. One of them, an expert in religious law, tried to trap him with this question. Teacher, what's the most important commandment in the law of Moses? Jesus replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. In this moment, when they're trying to trap Jesus, when they're trying to get him into a moment, what does he do? He says something that he has lived out in front of them from the beginning, is that you lead with love. No matter what you're facing, your first response is to lead with love. I think back to John chapter 8. There's a woman that was caught in the act of adultery. I can't even imagine just the emotional and the shame and all the dynamics of a group of people that come in, catching her in this act of adultery, taking her, dragging her before Jesus, trying to make an example and a mockery of her in order to trap Jesus. And in this moment of the story, they throw her down in front. They said, the law says that we should stone her. What about you, Jesus? What do you say we should do? And in that moment, Jesus says something fascinating. Right? He kneels down and he just starts to write in the sand. And then after a while, he just looks and he says, whoever's without sin can cast the first stone. The people that were there realized really quick how their own lives were intertwined with the life of this young lady, more than they ever thought possible. And then he finally looks at her and he says, where are those that accuse you? And she has to say, they're gone. And he just says the same. He's like, I don't condemn you either. Go now. Don't sin anymore. Right? Jesus led with love. And everything, we could tell story after story after story of how Jesus, when he was approached with things, he led with love. The problem is most of us are more like the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the teachers of the law than we are like Jesus when it comes to how we interact with people. We like to, because their goal was to be right. That's what they wanted. They wanted to be right. But our goal isn't to be right. Our goal is to be loving. Jesus laid that before us in every interaction with every person. Our goal should never be to be right. It should always be to be loving. Jesus was, every person he interacted with, the first thing that they met was love. The first thing that they met in any situation was love. And I think we need to ask ourselves this morning, when people interact with us, the first interaction they have with us, who am I more like? Am I more like the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the religious leaders, that people meet my opinions before they meet my love? Or am I more like Jesus, where they meet my love first? I love how Bob Goff says it. He says, you can burn others' opinions. He says, it's good to burn each other's opinions. He goes, but that doesn't make you right. It only makes you an arsonist. See, most of us lead with fear rather than love. See, when we lead with fear because we believe that time is limited. We believe that time is limited. I only have so much time in my day. I'm in survival mode. There's only so much time to get all the things that are done. If somebody interacts with me, then all of a sudden I don't have that time. So we're guarded with our time. When we lead with fear, we're doing it because we want to protect our value. We think there's something in my life that's valuable and somebody else is going to try to take it. Or we're hesitant to let them. How many of us is it so difficult to trust anyone else? Because we've been taken advantage of so many times. We've had people come to us with what seems like good intentions, but they really had an ulterior motive to get something from us, to take value from us. And the other thing that happens when we lead with fear is we tend to believe that our emotions are true. That everything that I feel right now in this moment, that's true. My emotions are true. And even fourthly, that others want to control me. I lead with fear because I believe other people want to control my time. They want to control my value. They want to control my heartbeat. Now, one of the great things about derecho is there wasn't really any time or power to worry about any politics for a couple of weeks. But let's just be honest. All you need to do is to listen to any political ad. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle it's on. And time is limited. If you don't vote this way, and everything is at risk for us as a nation. You need to protect what's valuable for you. There's other people that are going to take away what's valuable for you, and this is the value that you should treasure. You need to feel this, and if you're feeling this way, that's true, and that's why you should join us. And other people are going to control you if you don't vote the way that we want to, because we won't control you. Well, do you notice how this is what we do? We lead with fear. It's what we do as humans when we don't trust a Savior and a Creator and the one who puts everything in front of us. See, Jesus said, no, your goal is to lead with love. No matter what you're interacting with, no matter who you're coming in contact with, you need to lead with love. Jesus defines love, I think, biblically this way, and I've said this before, and I'll say it till the day I die. I believe the best biblical definition of love is this: that I do what's best for the other at my own expense. Marriage is truly marriage when I do what's best for Christy at my expense. Now, what's best is the important part. It's not what I think I need from them or should get for them, but what did they need to survive, to be the person that God created them to be, to see the honor and the beauty and the value of what God's created in them for them. And when we're going to lead with love to be what's best for the other people, I just want to give you 5 simple things. And if you write anything down, just write these down. I think they'd be great for you to kind of help throughout the week. And it's simple as this, is because this is what Jesus did. When we lead with love, every response to other people is intentional. When I lead with love, every response is intentional. See, emotions are a thermometer. Right? Emotions are simply a thermometer. They're just telling me where I'm feeling. Right? They move up and down all the time. They move up and down. But God is calling us in leadership and to lead with love is to be a thermostat, where you set the environment, you control it. Think what Jesus did when they brought that woman to him. I think of how vulnerable she was. Think of how outraged the crowd was. Think of just the emotion, the raw emotion in that moment. And what does Jesus do? He pauses and he sets the tone. He did not let their emotions set his tone. I was in a meeting with some school officials after an event that I was not happy with how some things proceeded. And one of the school officials looked at me bluntly and said, so if somebody yelled at you that way and treated you that way, would you not want to respond to be? And I'm like, yeah, that's what we emotionally want to do. But that's not when we lead with love. Just because somebody else yells at you and cusses at you doesn't give you permission to yell and cuss and all those other kind of things in response. What did Jesus do? Jesus set the tone. Jesus controlled the environment. He's like, no, love wins here. Not your emotion, not your judgment, not your shame. Shame doesn't have a place in this. And so what most of us need to remember is that when we're leading with love, there has to always be a pause. There has to always be a pause. Is this just a thermometer in me just jumping up and down telling me it's hot outside, it's cold outside, it's hot outside, it's cold outside? It's one of the hard parts with the tent, right? We are at the mercy of the environment. We can try to put a little cool air in here, but it doesn't do a whole lot against the sun. It wins. But we need to learn to say, no, when we're inside, Jesus controls that environment. The second thing that we see with Jesus is that when we lead with love, there is always time for people. There's always time for people. I think one of the things I learned this week in the last 3 weeks, more than anything, is how easy it is for me even to be so busy to miss people, to setting up environments for people. But I made a commitment this week that as much as possible, no phone call goes to voicemail. It didn't matter who I was with, what environment I was in. I was in meetings down at the temporary city hall. I've been meetings with other people. And if I get a phone call, I'm like, this person's important, because there's always time for people. Jesus made time. You think of all the people that tried to interrupt Jesus and all the things that he had to do. Here he's coming to save the world. But what did he take time for? Always people. It's always about people. And here's the problem, is too many of us have zero margin in our lives. We just have no margin. There's no space for anyone. Hey, when can I meet with you? Well, I got time 3 weeks from now on a Tuesday at 3:30 in the afternoon, Like we're booked too solid. Maybe I can get, what if we took the phone call then? I can give you 5 minutes now. I got you right here. And then if we need longer, we can do something different. And I think the thing that we need to remember, and what I think we're learning in this season to set up for a new normal as we move forward, is many of us just have to quit stuff. Many of us have too many things that take up too much time that don't bring value. We just need to quit things. There's TV shows you just need to quit, right? There's video games some of y'all just need to quit. There's hobbies some of y'all just need to quit. There's things that some of us, it just takes up so much time that we just need to quit it, because there needs to always be room for people. Always have room for it. This is why life groups are not optional. That's why we say here at Sierra First all the time, you got to find your people, because we need each other. If anything we've learned over the last several months, as depression rates keep going up, as marriage problems keep skyrocketing, is how important it is to need each other, to know each other, to make room for people, to have time for people. The third thing that we realize and we learn from Jesus is when we learn to lead from love, is we will learn that every person is honorable. Every single person is honorable. This woman that's caught in adultery, what did they want to do? They wanted to heap shame upon her. But what did Jesus do? He treated her with honor. He treated her with dignity. He protected her. He put value on her when they had stripped all the value away from her. That every person we interact with has incredible. You see with Jesus over and over again. There's a woman at the well who had been in multiple relationships. Jesus treated her with honor and dignity. He took time to talk with her. There are people that sought things. I think one of my favorite stories of Jesus with this, and it's one that we miss often, is Jesus is in Galilee, which is a predominantly Jewish region, And he's at the Sea of Galilee, and he takes his disciples and he crosses over the Sea of Galilee to the other side of this big old lake, which is predominantly a Gentile area. It's a Gentile area. And when he gets to this Gentile area, he walks up the hill, and there he's encountered by a man who's possessed by a demon. Not just a demon, a legion of demons. And he encounters this man. And Jesus goes and he interacts with him and he sets him free. And sets him free completely. The demons all go into the herd of pigs. The pigs go, run away, that kind of story. But then Jesus looks at him, and in his right mind, he says, in his right mind, he's then able to go back into his community. The people there didn't want him, so what did Jesus do? Jesus just turned around and went back across the lake. Do you realize that Jesus made that entire trip on purpose to interact with one person? One demon-filled Gentile who was not his race, who was not like him, who wasn't like him religiously, politically, anything. Jesus went out of his way, took an entire day to interact with him. Why? Because every person is treated with honor. That's how Jesus interacts. That's how he leads. I think one of the most difficult things that we have right now is we've got these masks, and it's hard when you're out shopping and you're connecting with people, and people just hide behind a mask. But isn't the masks just showing something that's a bigger problem that we have anyway? How many of us wear masks all the time, even before we needed them for health reasons? And we have people that we don't see each other's eyes. We don't see deep into each other's souls. We're not light. We don't get lit up when we interact with somebody that we don't know. Like, there's a fear that happens when people interact with each other. I'm telling you one thing. I'm never led by fear. We can't be led by fear, but we lead by honor. We lead with honoring each other. One of the ways that I've learned to even just kind of process, this is my personal processing, because I've heard people all different sides just telling me, wow, you're fearful if you do this. Oh, you're fearful if you do that. You're fearful if you do this. I'll say I'll have a conversation with anybody. Anyone that tells me I'm afraid of something, bring it on, because I'm not afraid of anything. But I am going to wear my mask in front of other people and connect with other people because I honor people, because I see value in people. I've looked at it this way. I know we've had many people that have gotten sick with COVID here in this church. I've probably well over 100 plus friends that have gotten it all throughout. I can count on one hand, I think maybe two hands, the number have been hospitalized. I haven't met anyone that's died yet. And so I've been looking at it like in my personal life, right? My personal life. I've been looking at it like nut allergies. So I'm comparing it to peanuts. Isn't that funny? So almonds. But one of the things we learned here in church ministry real early on is in our early childhood areas that we have to post things about nut allergies, because there's only a few people that have nut allergies. Only a few children have them. And most people have no issues with it. They don't have problems with it, doesn't interact with them. But if they have an issue with it, it's a big deal. It's only a couple kids that come to church on a Sunday have a big deal with nuts. But if they don't have an EpiPen and they're not somebody right there, this is a big, dangerous deal. There's a few people that with COVID, it's a big deal. I have a friend that spent the last 6 weeks in the hospital. He didn't know he had it. He didn't know how things happen. But because he had gone through a kidney transplant, there were other issues. And so I want to protect and make sure that it's just to be safe. It isn't a fear issue or not a fear issue. And here in Iowa, we have been left alone from this issue for the most part, but I'm going to Minnesota last week to drop our son off to college, and it was not an option, right? And seeing the battles that people are having. Here's my issue, my encouragement. Can we lead with love? Is my first reaction love? No matter what I'm dealing with and what I'm interacting with, are we leading with love? Because we want to honor people and care for people. I know I'm pushing some buttons, but guess what? Jesus pushed buttons all the time. All you got to do is hang around with Jesus for a little bit, and he'll push some buttons. And, because we need to understand every person is honorable. We have empathy for people and encourage people. Two less simple things, because I think the next one we mainly miss. Most of us lead with fear, because we're so afraid that we're going to burn out if we don't. When we hear lead with love, we're like, oh, I'm just going to burn out. I'm not going to do anything. So that's why Jesus taught us very clearly that rest has a purpose. That when you lead with love, rest has a purpose. That when you need time to recharge. There are times you need to put a boundary and say, nope, I need to recharge. I need to have rest. But the reason we rest is not for me time. It's not about me time. It's so that I can be refilled to give out again. That Jesus wants to fill me up so that I can give some more, that I can pour out some more and really work. I rest in order to work even more. So we protect our time. I'm going to tell you, see, our community here, we have a long ways to go to rebuild. This is going to take time. And there's going to be a lot of us that are going to go, I'm just so tired of this. I'm tired of being in the tent. I'm tired of being in this little room over here. I want to be back in the sanctuary. I'm tired of having to go clean up people's trees. Oh my goodness, how many years are we going to be cleaning up trees? We are going to be cleaning up trees for a long time, okay? I sat in a meeting this week. There were 8 of us I was with the mayor and the city leaders, and we were working on a plan with another organization that's connected with of what can we do and talking through, well, can we in November come back and have a concentrated effort with the people of Cedar Rapids to come together to make sure at that point all the homes are ready for winter. They're not all rebuilt, but if there's dangerous limbs that are still hanging, do we have the organization? We're trying to figure out how do we do that. And I know for many people, it's like, hey, I got my house done. I'm done. I'm done. But for us to be the church, to lead with love, we have a long ways to go. We got a long ways to go in all these different pieces that are going to, and so we need to be rested for the right purpose. We need to take the time and say, no, I'm rested so I can give. I've put boundaries in my life so I have space to serve. I have space to lead. I have space to give to other people. Because what I'm calling us to do as we're moving through this new normal is we have to lead with love. That has to be the first thing that we do in every step, because the last thing that Jesus tells us in this that I want to kind of keep in front of us is that he helps us understand that dreams are a group project. That dreams, to have a dream fulfilled, is a group project. We never do this alone. Jesus didn't come to create a dynasty that it's all. Did you ever notice, like, people didn't draw just to him? He said, come follow me, but he built a team. Like, one of my favorite things that Jesus did was so fascinating. He would heal people, and then he would tell them, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone I did that. And then what did all the people do? They went and told people. They're like, this is awesome. But think about it. If you do something good, and then you're like, hey, look what I did for this person. Aren't I amazing what I just did for this person? What does that person now feel like? They were used, right? They were used to do something for, and she's like, I'm not using anyone. I'm just leading with love. I'm just encouraging. I'm just validating. I'm just bringing hope and encouragement to every person, because I need to realize that in order for any dream to be fulfilled, it's a group project. Jesus came and created a team. He got his 12 disciples. One fell away. They came back in, and that multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. Jesus worked that way because he knew that dreams need each other. We need each other in this. It's nothing that we do on our own. It's nothing that we do in isolation. We need to create a movement. I've said from the day I got here that God's called us to create a movement in Eastern Iowa where we love each other into greatness. And the movement is simply this. A movement is a whole bunch of people moving. Right? You got to do something. We have to do things. And in order for us to do those things, we need to do it together, leading forward, following with Jesus, having love be the focus of everything. This is, again, why we need life groups. And I'm telling you, we're struggling a little bit with the communication to get all the life groups together. We're going to be flexible through this. We're going to work it because we want to make sure people are connected with each other. We need many of you to kind of step up and just say, hey, let's do it. Let's just make this happen. Let's encourage each other. Because when we lead with love as opposed to fear, we got to remember every response is intentional. I don't have to fight for time because I know there's an eternity that God has set up for me, and that I can count on him. That when we lead with love, there's always time for people, because I know that I don't have to worry about people trying to steal my value, because Jesus died to protect my value. There's nothing any other person can take from me. I am free to give completely because he fills me up and encourages me. And there's time for people to be honored and valued and treasured. And that when I do rest, I rest with a purpose, because I know that Jesus holds all things together, that he wants to fill me up so he can pour it out through us to people, that we can do things together more than we could do on ourselves. Bottom line, the way we live with this new normal is we model Jesus. We just need to be like him. Jesus came and he led with love. I'm telling you, I would much rather lead with love than lead with fear. Lead with fear is easy and it's cheap and it gets people stirred up and riled up. We see it all over our nation right now. But when the church of God arises and says, we won't follow that. We don't follow those mantras. We don't follow those narratives. We don't follow those storylines. I won't be manipulated into fear leading me in any other way. I am going to follow my Savior, my Creator, who came to die for me, and I'm going to lead with love. I'm going to interact with every person who has value and purpose and time. I'm going to dream big dreams, not just about tomorrow, but the future, because God is stirring something out. God is doing something here. See, our first, we've been saying it for months. God's up to something. He's preparing us for something. You better watch out. We don't know what's coming. And then this all happens, right? And I'm just going, all right, if this has happened and God has moved so much so far this way, I am so ready for what's next. I'm ready to dream big. I'm ready to dream aggressively. I'm ready to dream assertively. I'm ready to dream with love in the forefront of everything that's in front of us, that we can love each other and encourage each other, bring hope to our community, and tell our community, no. We don't do this for our sake. We don't just do it because it's CR strong. No, Jesus is strong. And because Jesus is in us, our community's strong. And we believe that with everything that's within our hearts. So I'm excited about what God's going to do for us, my friends. I know it's time to stretch and to get up and to have a little fun and to interact with each other. But here's my challenge for you today. And if someone can come, the keys. That for many of us, as we're going into this week, and many are just kind of struggling with even, how do I just survive? I'm just trying to do things day by day. I'm in survival mode. I want to get through the day. I want to make sure I get everything off my list. I want to make sure nothing bad happens. I want to just make sure nobody robs my time. I want to make sure those, and we're just surviving. I want to encourage you that let this week be a week where we begin to thrive. Where we just begin to thrive. Where we live with intentionality, that we live with purpose, that we live with honor, that we live with value, that we pour out more than even Jesus pours into us, because we know the more we pour out of him, the more he pours back into us. That this is a week that we say, no, I'm not here to just survive. I'm going to lead with love, and I'm going to follow what Jesus does and watch how Jesus changes and transforms and changes everything. Father, we're so grateful that you came to rescue us from fear. You came to rescue us from those that would try to turn us away and say that we have to protect so many things that are within us. And you've allowed us through what Jesus has done for us, and you've helped us to understand that we have freedom, and we have joy, and we have peace, and most importantly, above all things, we get to love. We get to see the beauty in every other person that God has created, and we get to see the honor in them, and we can have empathy for them, and we can care for them, and we can see the life that Jesus has for them. So Jesus, will you change our perspective? And as we go into our new normal, will you help us, Lord, today say our new normal is I will lead with love. And if you're here today and maybe you haven't received Jesus as Lord and Savior, I'm just telling you, today is a day. You've been sensing something in worship, or maybe you've had this anxiety or just an angst that you've just been going through, but there's something today that just says hope. Maybe you felt tears coming, you don't even know where those are coming from. I'm just telling you that sense of hope, that sense of anticipation is because this creator of the universe sees you, loves you, wraps his arms around you, will never place shame upon you, has come to rescue you, that even though others might come and say things, or you might feel that you don't measure up, that he's like, no, it's not about you, it's about you being with me. And that you can find him and know him. And if that's your heart today, all Jesus says is all we need to do is just do 3 simple things. We just admit, God, I can't do this on my own, but I believe, that you are the source of life, and that you do love me, and so much so that you died to take the penalty for me. And then we just make a simple confession that today I choose Jesus. I choose Jesus over fear. I choose Jesus over worry. I choose Jesus over myself. And when you do that, Jesus comes and radically transforms your life. If we could, with just no one looking around just for a second, if that's you today and you know what you're saying today, I choose Jesus. Just because I want to just pray with you, can you just simply put a hand up if that's you today? Can you just put a hand up? Just say, I choose Jesus. Yeah, thank you. In the back, yeah, thank you. I choose Jesus. Yeah, just put a hand up, make eye contact with me. Amen. I choose Jesus. I love it. Amen. Yeah. Many of you all over this place. I love it. Hey, will you just say a simple prayer with me today? Just all of us together. Would you say, Dear Jesus, I admit today that I am not able to produce life on my own. That I am at times fearful that others might take from me. But today, I believe that Jesus has reached out to me and he covers me and he died for me so that I may receive his love. And so today, with all my heart, I simply say, I choose Jesus. Thank you for changing me and saving me. Amen. Man, if you prayed that prayer, we are so excited for you. Can we just give a big hand of praise to Jesus for those that received Jesus today? So grateful. Now I know for some of you, you need to go, and you're free to do that. But if you want to hang around for Hope Fest, we've got some fun we're going to do. Brent and the team are here to kind of lead us in worship and song. They're eating right now. But before you leave today, for everyone that's here right now, we got some frozen treats for you. In the back, there's some people waving, got coolers. They're back there. I think we got some ice cream and some frozen fruit stuff and all those kind of things. If you want one, you're welcome to have one on a hot day. That's a good thing. We do have food trucks that are parked behind the tent. So if you want to join, if you want to get in line, I know it takes a while for them to prep some things, and then we're gonna move and transition in a while. We're gonna take a little bit of time to before we'll start the concert. I think over here we have some horses that people can ride the horses. We have a carriage ride that's over there too, so you can take a little carriage ride. If you want to peek in the building, you can peek in for the building. We're just here to have fun. All right, if you want to go home and come back for a little bit later, you can do that too. You want to go sit in your car for air conditioning and then come out later, whatever, right? This is just a party with a purpose. That's what we want to do today. So how many are glad that you came to church today? I believe it. It's all good. So God be honor. Thank you for your giving. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for continuing to serve your neighbors and care for people. So stand up, wave at somebody, encourage each other, and we'll come back in about a half hour or so and start the concert. You'll tell when you can hear the music beginning, all right? God bless you, everybody.